All right, everyone, welcome back. We're going to continue on with our series on chart examples in faith with myself and Leo Borsotti. So for our next chart, we're gonna build a little bit on some of the things that we learned here, and we're gonna see how we again have to be slightly careful how we use them and jump to our conclusions, right? So I'll walk you through again. So we have the Lagna. Oops, let me see you there. We have the Lagna in Cancer with exalted Jupiter and Mars. We have Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in the second house. We have Ketu in the fifth house in Scorpio. We have Moon and Saturn in the sixth house in Sagittarius. And we have Rahu in Taurus. So anything jump out at you?
Debilitated Mars in the ascendant, if I'm correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, considering it's a Kendra, it could make this person lose faith. However, Jupiter exalted there.
Yeah.
Is a very nice thing.
The exaltation of Jupiter saves the Mars there from the worst of when a debilitated planet is with an exalted planet, that's a Nicha Bhanga. That's a kind
Excellent.
of.
So that Jupiter is definitely saving and aspecting the fifth house and
this
the
Jupiter.
ninth.
It's very important.
Yeah. The other thing, I guess, is the Moon and Saturn. Saturn in the sixth house could be positive, considering it again. It's the sixth house of Drushtana with a harsh planet there. Then that could be favorable for this person developing faith.
Definitely.
And the second house is loaded, but I'm cautious of that one because that second house was a funny one that you mentioned. It could be sustaining, but it could be obstructing. So again, that's just my initial impression. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah. So what I would point out, and it's something that I actually failed a little bit in the first series to explain, was the second house. I've emphasized wealth, but I didn't really highlight the fact that it's also family. So this family thing is an important part too. Family can be a hindrance or it can be a blessing, depending on which way they try to point you, right? So there's a little bit to do with that in here. Now, what I would point out is remember that the first two houses that have the biggest impact, the initial impact, when it comes to the 12th house, was the 11th house and the Lagna itself. So this Rahu is exalted. This Rahu is very happy here, and he's Bhoga Rahu. He's in Taurus. So this is a problem. I would highlight this as this is something, and it's associated with the Ruda Lagna. So when you have these planets, you're gonna have to go through this on some level. We're gonna go there, and this is either gonna obstruct you or it's gonna be a blessing. But you're gonna have to deal with this, and you're gonna have to deal with this before you can deal with this. That's part of the sequence.
Right.
We can't really develop this until this is done.
It makes sense. You have to go through the experience first to then.
And we could say the same to some extent with this house over here. We got to go there, and even really to that one, you're gonna see how all those houses are very pivotal. This is the chart of Sri Aurobindo, who is a transcendentalist yogi, a poet, and a nationalist, and a very significant spiritual teacher within the spectrum of time. His contribution to knowledge is profound, and his chart is very interesting. So, Aurobindo comes from he came from an affluent family. See this sun, you have sun in Leo, right? Affluent family. And they sent him overseas to study, see this student yoga with Venus. This is overseas travel. And he would acquire knowledge, and eventually he would come back to India and he would become a civil servant. And in time, he would go back to Calcutta at around about his 28th year. Now, the 28th year happens to correspond with the maturation of Mars. So now we're activated. This is getting activated. Okay. This Jupiter-Mars combination is a very, this is a fiery and very idealistic. This Jupiter in Cancer is a very high level of idealism. And here with Mars, it's a, he's going to have he's going to become very nationalistic. This fourth house is about your homeland, right? The sign Cancer, it's like about your homeland. It's the natural fourth house. He'll become very idealistic. He'll become involved, especially after this 1901. He will start to become more and more involved in politics. See this Rahu in the Aruda Lagna. This is a politician. And he starts to write about the freedom and about civil disobedience and outright revolt. It starts coming to the point of outright revolt and even violent, what would be the word?
Protest.
Well, like when you're, yeah, violent protests, I guess that's the word. In order to, he was like a freedom fighter. So here, this Jupiter Mars in Cancer is like freedom fighter yoga, we could call it. Now, notice that, we'll keep going a little bit. So he would get very, he would become very outspoken. He would become very, he'd become an inflammatory character, and the British government would be trying to arrest him. And eventually he gets arrested because of a car bombing that ended up killing a lady. The British government tried to hold him responsible for inciting that, being part of that conspiracy. See how there's this Rahu here. He's going to be part of he'll have infamy on some level, and he'll be part of a scandal. Now, when we get to the Moon Mercury Dasha, he is imprisoned. Now notice that we have two things that are quite significant here. In our last chart, well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So the first thing we notice is there is actually a parivartana. There's a parivartana taking place between Jupiter and the moon. And when Moon Dasha activates, we're gonna activate this parivartana, and there's gonna be a switch up. Parivartana is rather complicated, but the short of it is this: we could almost treat it as if this sign has moved over there and this sign has moved over there, and therefore, and the moon and Jupiter stay where they are, but the planets with them are going to switch. So we're going to end up with Jupiter, Saturn. We could even annotate it. We could put how do Jupiter, Saturn, come over here, and we can do Moon, Mars. And then I'll close that. So all of a sudden, he's in that time because it's Moon and Mercury. So this Moon is also him. It's the Lagna Lord, right? He got himself into trouble. He got into he did something bad. He did Moon Saturn yoga as like causing suffering. It's caused someone some sorrow possibly, and he's going to have to experience some sorrow. So we've entered into the realm of faith, right? We've entered through the sixth house. This was the gateway, right? And now he has to be he gets imprisoned in this time. Prison is also a 12th house factor. And look, it's Mercury. This Mercury is the 12th lord.
Yep.
Right? Now, at the same time, we have something going on, which we learned about in the previous slide, the previous example of Bilmar. If we go down to the degrees, we're going to notice that Mercury's at 23 degrees and Saturn's at 23 degrees. Oh, this is another Charkaraka Yuta. But this is a very big one because notice, this is Atmakaraka and this is Matyakaraka. So there's going to be a change in his fundamental idea of himself, and he's going to have a change in the nature of his work. And what's going to happen is this Saturn wins the Yuta in the end. So this Mercury is going to die. And that's going to happen at around about the age of 36, the natural maturation of Saturn. So at the moment that he's being imprisoned, he's having an intense internal shift. Now in the last chart, and it has huge implications due to the nature of the Charkarakas involved. It changes his self-identity. It changes his approach to work. He's going to take up a Jupiterian type of work mode. And at the same time, we're having a Parivartana switch. We have so many things going on that we have to actually go one by one, okay? So the first thing that gets noted is that this Mercury is the 12th lord and the 3rd lord. So something about what he believed and how he was going about doing it is going to die. So his belief in nationalism takes a huge tumble. Notice how this Mercury, this 12th lord up till then, his beliefs were involved in nationalism, Sun and Leo, and family, and these nationalistic family traditions, all this dies. Not so important anymore. While he's in jail, he has a series of mystical experiences. He experiences that for a period of time, he hears Vivekananda teaching him directly. Vivekananda is talking to him. And it culminates, his series of visionary experiences culminates with Krishna himself coming into his prison cell and telling him, you know, you're trying to do all this stuff. Where's that getting you? How's that going for you? How about you let me do it and you help me and you preach you teach people about my, the song of God. Teach people Bhagavad Gita. How about you preach my message and I'll do all the work. I'll do everything, but you just assist me, right? So he has a full change. This whole nationalism thing done. Now his Amakaraka has shifted from Mercury about writing and being outspoken. This Mercury is like when you have something to say, you have to get it out. Now it's shifted to Saturn, right? Saturn Amakaraka type person is someone who is being tolerant. He has compassion. He's going to experience compassion for all. And it's over here actually. We can functionally think of it as over here with Saturn Jupiter. Saturn Jupiter is like Brahma Yoga. They call it Brahmana Yoga. Think of this as like the old father. Even, we'll notice how this sign actually has the strongest impact on his Aruda Lagna. This is going to dominate because it's in the Lagna. So even if you see pictures of him in he's like an old man with a white beard. This white beard is coming from this Saturn. Without this Parivartana, he would have never had this white long beard. And all of that plays out very clearly. We can see it happen. It happens in this Mercury Moon Dasha. Was there anything I missed there? We said we've changed the Atmakarakas. We've done the Parivartana to switch to Saturn Jupiter. We've seen the death of. Now, I do have to mention one more thing. So in this chart of Bilmar, we had the 12th Lord dying, and that was the fall of the Jupiter. It made him take a very mundane stance, combined with the fact that he was so critical of religion. When the 12th Lord dies, it's like your connection to your The 12th, like we said, the 12th house is the house of the rishis. It's the house of the ancestors. It's the pitris. So when the 12th lord dies through Charakarka replacement, there's a part of your connection to your past dies. And so even though Aurobindo would be a transcendentalist yogi, he was very much, he didn't really conform to the traditional view on everything. He actually, his teacher told him that you have to follow the inner guru, that the inner guru is the real guru. And so he looked at Vedic thought almost with blue eyes. You'll find that his teachings, which he called integral yoga, are kind of a synthesis of Western and Eastern thought. And even though they delve deeply and illuminate Vedic theology and philosophy in a revolutionary and monumental way, that they very much, in several ways, they break from tradition. And that's seen from this death of the 12th Lord through Charakarka Yuga. In our last presentation, we culminated with a chart that basically looked like this, where we saw the 12 houses, and we mapped them. We mapped the individuals that Krishna had described. He showed that these 4 Lagna signs, when there was a lack, it turned into a kind of person who would not think to approach Godhead. We saw these four houses, which are the Lagna Kendra. Then Krishna described 4 kinds of individuals who, by effort, would approach him through various, right? That these, he would through effort, and that these would be houses. We pointed out that these would be houses like gateways. But I have to ask, if the foolish, right? If the foolish wasn't foolish, what would he be? And does that mean that there might be 4 aims of life, 4 methods of perfection? So I hope in the coming weeks and months that we'll explore this topic together. I know, Leo, that you're pretty busy, so maybe it won't be with Leo, but with somebody, even if just you guys. I hope that you'll explore this topic with us as we journey into the perfection of yoga. Thank you all very, very much. Leo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Nimai, for the privilege of listening to you and sharing this knowledge. If I'm not in the video, I'm definitely watching the channel anyway. And very good question, because it does kind of give us that sensation of, are we at the mercy of external elements? And, you know, is there a risk of us also losing our faith? Or what are the things that can favor them? What are the things that can help us prevent that happening? So I look forward to your insights. Thank you very much, Nimai.
No worries. Thank you so much, Leo. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I hope that if you enjoyed this video, that you will like and subscribe. And see you all in the future. All the best to you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.